Okay, so I'm kind of setting things up for Dave and Brendan and George in terms of the topic here today. Sorry about that. I got to remember to hold the mic up. I'm going to talk about what civility is and why we're here today talking about it, and give you some background on some of the ethics rules that involve civility, and then they're going to take it away from there. So I thought it might be helpful to start out with some definitions. Now, this is a compilation from a number of different sources. I Googled it. I went to Webster's. Essentially, the general definition is politeness and courtesy, and you can see what some of the synonyms are: respect, decorum, consideration, etc., good manners. What civility is not is discourtesy, impoliteness, rudeness, surliness, ungraciousness. So that's kind of the dictionary definition. But civility is more than just being polite. It's essentially a variation of the golden rule. And I think of it in terms of relationship building. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Now I'm going to have to put something down here. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Why is it doing this? Okay. I really liked this quote from Justice Kennedy, so I thought I would stick it in here. Essentially, he feels that civility is the essence of professionalism, and I liked this part of it. Civility is not a bumper sticker slogan such as, "Have you hugged your adversary today?" But again, it's about respect for the individual and professionalism. So why are we talking about it today? Al kind of gave a little introduction about its very hot topic. Lawyers have an image problem, and these are some statistics. Since 1977, the percentage of people who think lawyers are professionals of great prestige dropped 26% to 26%. In 2009, lawyers ranked lower by 2 points than members of Congress, which I think is really frightening. Only 18% of the public trust lawyers. And then there's this last statistic, which doesn't really seem to me to fit. 76% of those who have hired a lawyer are satisfied. And maybe that's because 76% of those that have hired a lawyer have hired someone to be a junkyard dog, and they want incivility. Otherwise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, lawyers, as you probably know, are the butt of a lot of jokes. And if you Google lawyer jokes, you will get hundreds of hits. And I just threw in a few since it's early in the morning to, kind of wake you up a bit. How do you know when a lawyer is lying? Her lips move. What do you get when you run an honest lawyer contest? No winners. I'm not sure you get contestants. I don't know. Why don't sharks attack lawyers? Professional courtesy. And what's the difference between a lawyer and a vampire? I think vampire things are very current, so I threw that one in here. A vampire only sucks blood at night. So all in all, that's not really good. Our profession is not necessarily held in the highest regard. Here's a good joke. He's a sleazy lawyer, but he's my sleazy lawyer. I guess that's the 76% who like their lawyers. Now, I realize that a lot of you in this audience today are not lawyers. Lest you think you're off the hook, I found a couple good cartoons. Government employees also have an image problem. So you can see the first one, "Out of my way, I'm a public servant." And the second one, you have the door, civil servants and uncivil servants. So, it's not just the lawyers here that have the issue, but it's all of us. So what's the difference? I mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about ethics. That's kind of my thing, and I want to make sure y'all get your ethics credit. Ethics is something that guides our conduct. Ethics are rules that we're supposed to comply with. Civility characterizes our conduct, and it's essential to the fair administration of justice and conflict resolution. Now, lawyers have somewhat of a dilemma. The adversarial system, by its nature, encourages conflict, and sometimes when there's conflict, of course, people tend to go a little bit overboard. There's a tension between your role as an advocate and an officer of the court. Some people have a great deal of difficulty distinguishing between zealous advocacy and uncivil conduct. A lot of attorneys use as an excuse for bad behavior that they were just zealously representing their client. And a number of states, including, I think, New Mexico, I know Arizona has taken the word zealous out of the rules of professional conduct because too many people use that as an excuse for bad behavior. Client expectations are often a cause of incivility because a client may want to hire a lawyer that they feel is going to be aggressive on their behalf and portray an aggressive image. And some courts, present company accepted, are reluctant to police conduct. We are supposed to be a self-policing profession. Now, I don't know if any of these things have happened to you. These are all examples that have happened to people that I know or work with. Have you ever had your integrity impugned in court? I'm going to show a video clip in a little bit where that happened. Anybody ever question your ethics or your professionalism? Have you been verbally or physically threatened? And I have a clip coming up where we'll see that. Have you ever ended up raising your voice, insulting your opposing counsel, called your opposing counsel a name, lost your temper, or had to cut off all verbal communications with your opposing counsel? And for those of you who are not lawyers, substitute members of the public for opposing counsel or coworkers. We're going to talk towards the end of my presentation a little bit about civility in the workplace. So when are we most prone to incivility? I think one of the biggest areas of incivility is email. People tend to treat email very informally. People tend to respond very quickly, too quickly, hit that send button before you really have taken an opportunity to think through what you're saying. Sometimes it's good to slow things down, and I actually have advocated to people in my office, if you have an issue where opposing counsel or somebody sends you an irate email, wait a few hours before you respond, or wait till the next day, or maybe draft your response, but then let it sit for a while before you actually push send, because you can exacerbate the situation. Or even write a letter. If you feel like you have to respond via email, write a letter, attach it to an email. And people tend to treat letters, I think, correspondence, a little more carefully than they do emails. People tend to talk in emails like they might talk on the phone, and tone sometimes is a problem. Another area of a lot of problems for lawyers is discovery, frivolous requests, objections that are obstructionist, not giving responses that you should be giving, depositions. I have a video clip that hopefully we'll be able to hear the sound on where there's some obvious problems. In front of clients, I mentioned that clients often hire lawyers to be aggressive. So lawyers often showboat in front of their clients. They might be well behaved in other situations, but when their client is there, they're acting up. Motion practice, scheduling requests. We're going to talk a little bit about civility might require you to be agreeable to extensions of time. So I don't know if you can read. Can you all read this in the back? Here's an example of really bad conduct in an email. Mitchell and Mooney are two opposing lawyers, and they're having some discovery disputes. So Mitchell sends an email saying, "I don't think I deserve the jerk comment. I was actually on the internet trying to find out what type of retardism you have by checking your symptoms. Closely spaced eyes, dull blank stare, bulbous head, lying and inability to tell fiction from reality, so I could donate money for research for a cure. However, apparently those symptoms are indicative of numerous types of retardism, and so my search was unsuccessful. Have a great day, Corky." Mr. Mooney. Okay, so then Mooney responds, "Thanks, Sparky. more evidence of the jerk you are. The fact that I have a son with a birth defect really shows what type of a weak-minded coward you truly are. I'm sure your parents, if you even know who they are very proud of the development of their sperm cells. If you need to find the indications of retardism you seek, I suggest you look in a mirror. Then look at your wife. She has to be a retard to marry such a loser like you. Then check your children if they're even yours. Better check the garbage man that comes by your trailer to make sure they don't look like him. Now, this is a really extreme example. But it's a real example, and they did end up getting sanctioned for this conduct. But that's really over the top. I just wanted to make the point